Yarr, matey, I'm here to join the Steamworld Heist, the most feared pirates in all the land. Wait, you're only robots? Well, I can do the robot, yarr, matey. Let's get some boot. No. Okay, fine. All right, fine. Are you sure? Oh, okay, sorry. I'm out. Steamworld Heist is an impressive two-dimensional strategy game along the same lines as Worms or the Xcom series of games. In these types of games, the gameplay is really simple. You basically just move your character around, aim, and shoot. Where the depth comes into Steamworld Heist is in all the different set pieces and enemy types that you'll face throughout the game. You've got things like barrels that explode, all sorts of different enemy types with different weaponry, different guns that your characters can have, and a wide range of interesting characters that will join your crew along the way. The lore of Steamworld Heist is that the Earth has exploded and been shattered into millions of pieces, and steam bots, or robots that run on steam power, are living out in space harvesting the moisture to survive. Your character, Piper, is a commander of a group of robots who kind of are a little bit outlaws who travel the outskirts of the galaxy searching for water just to stay alive. As the plot develops in Steamworld Heist, things get really interesting and you meet a whole range of assorted characters, bosses, different people that you want to help out that will get you vested. It gives the appropriate level of context to keep pushing you to play through the game, making you want to do all these different tasks that the game is asking you to do. For example, there are some missions that just say, you know what, we're running low on water, we've got to go out and kick some ass and steal some water, which you go, well, okay, I'm down for that. As well, there are other missions that have much more context and plot sensitive goals where you have to make your way through, take out a certain enemy or save somebody, or all sorts of things like that. As you level up and progress through Steamworld Heist, you'll meet up with a bunch of different robots that will join your crew and take on your cause to help you out. These are all sorts of different characters with different personality types. There's a bounty hunter, an old sea captain, or a strong robot, or an older robot who's almost rusting away. All sorts of these different types of bots whose personality really shines through in their playstyle, their gameplay elements, as well as the dialogue that will show up in between missions. There are a few RPG elements present in Steamworld Heist. As you meet your crew, you'll be able to level them up, and as these characters level up, they'll gain new abilities to use in the missions. As well, you'll find all sorts of weapons and armor that you can equip your robots with before you go out into battle to give them extra things like health or an extra attack or various different upgrades that will help you in combat. I love in Steamworld Heist the way the story and the gameplay elements are intertwined so closely. You'll learn early these characters' personalities, and that will play out through the gameplay choices that you'll be able to make with them. For example, the strong bot is a big behemoth, and he's got a ton of health and increased melee damage, which makes a ton of sense. Your character, Piper, has a leadership bonus because she's the captain. It all makes so much sense and fits so well. Most of the levels are randomly generated, meaning that the different rooms and enemy positions and where all the loot is throughout the level is randomly created each time you enter the level. So if you fail a mission the first time and have to retry it, it'll be a totally different layout than the last time you did it. This was one of the parts of the game that I was actually really impressed with. Adding that in, it doesn't change the level too much or any of the difficulty, and all the enemies are the same, but adding the different layout just adds a little bit an extra element of strategy, increasing the amount that you can replay this game. Going through it again will be completely different than the first time you went through. As with the nature of these games, things can get quite repetitive. Just moving around, shooting, using the same strategic elements each time can get a little bit boring as you get to the later part of each of these sections. What the game does to try to manage this is every time you complete a section and beat a boss of a particular area, when you move on, you'll be introduced to a couple new gameplay elements as well as enemy types to try to spice things up and change up your strategy just that little bit enough so that you'll stay vested and want to keep playing through the game. Yarr! This does work kind of well, making you interested in each of the new elements you're going to see in the new areas and wanting to play those, but it also comes with a steep drop-off in the stakes. In each of the areas you build and build and build to the final boss of that area, but then when you start a new area, the stakes are just so low, you're almost like, oh, I gotta go through all this again to get to the really interesting parts, which are the boss battles. Some of the bosses just turn out to be upgraded versions of regular enemies, but all the final bosses have unique characteristics to them that add all sorts of character and intrigue into the game. For example, the final boss of the first section is a boiler that's been adapted to be able to build other robots, so it can create enemies in the battle. It makes so much sense, but is so interesting at the same time. The music, sound, and art design all work together to create a really interesting environment that you'll be immersed in. I found myself feeling like I was part of this world in this interesting, you're on these scrapped together ships with these scrapped together robots that looks appropriate and all the sounds are there to match. This Steambot universe is so interesting and so unique, unlike anything I've ever seen before. It's almost worth a look aside from all the great gameplay elements that are present in Steamworld Heist. Now, Steamworld Heist is not perfect. It does have a few drawbacks. As I mentioned before, the repetitive nature of these types of games can cause you to get a little bit bored at times with the gameplay, doing the same things over and over again. And what's unfortunate in some of these areas is that the story isn't as compelling in some of these more boring periods to really push you through. So there's going to be a few missions where you're going to have to slog through to get to some more of the exciting stuff. As well, I love how interesting all your companions and crew members are. They all have their own unique personalities, but what's unfortunate is while all their gameplay elements make sense, there's no incentive for you to really try out all of them. There's actually more incentive to pick your set 2 to 4 robots that you're going to use every time and level them up as much as possible to make them as strong as possible, leaving behind all the other robots who may be interesting as well. There's no kind of catch-up mechanic that will help them kind of catch up efficiently, which was a little bit disappointing. Probably my favorite part of Steamworld Heist is how much character and life they have shoved into this game. There are so many little details that have been added with all sorts of attention and love into this game that really make it worthwhile playing through. For example, the hat system, you can pick from all sorts of hats that you can have your characters wear in the missions. They don't do anything to the gameplay, but they just look really cool. And in the game, if you accidentally shoot it and don't get a headshot, but it hits the other character's hat, you can knock it off and go pick it up later in the game, adding that customizability to your character to use in another mission. Not to mention all the types of humor and robot puns that have been hidden throughout this game. If you're the type of person who likes to really pay attention to all the minute details, you're going to have a lot to laugh about here in Steamworld Heist. Overall, Steamworld Heist is just a really great game with a few things that could have been done a little bit better that hold it back. So for that reason, my final verdict for Steamworld Heist is an 8 out of 10. It's a great game. This game is definitely on the more casual end of the strategy genre, making it really accessible to players who maybe don't take the strategy genre that seriously, but do want to kind of experience what that kind of stuff is all about. I highly recommend Steamworld Heist. Well, that's it for this one. I gotta thank you guys so much for watching, and I definitely hope to see you next time on Yes Guy Gaming. That play through as you level up and progress through the game, you'll